Good morning, afternoon, evening, everyone, and welcome back to the Genshin Impact character review series, where we take a look at each character in the game, review them, and I give my opinions on them. Today's character is Diluc, the OG Pyro DPS, and the OG broken character that existed for quite a long. And he's still, of course, very good and very useful. He can fit in many team comps. And, well, in my opinion, he's nice and fun to play. So, why don't we get into his kit and see what makes Diluc such a good DPS that stayed for so long. And again, still today, he's so sought out as a good Pyro DPS. So, why don't we check his kit and see what's going on. So, starting off with Diluc's base attacks. There's nothing special. He's like the first Claymore user that ever, appeared on Genshin Impact. He has a 4-hit combo and it's very basic. Nothing really interesting. And his charged attacks are these like freaking flailing the Claymore around, doing multiple slashes instead of the spinning around thing that other Claymore characters have. But yeah, there's nothing really interesting about the charged and normal attacks. So why don't we move on immediately to his skill, the meat. It's not really the main focus of Diluc's kit, but it's very unique. So Diluc's skill has 3 stages. You can cast the skill 3 times back to back. First is a downward / pyro attack, then it's an upwards diagonal slash, and then he spins around and then also hits the ground with his claymore and deals pyro damage. This is a very good skill. Its multipliers aren't great on each of the strikes. Of course, combined together, if all 3 hits strike, you will get a lot of damage for sure. But it's nice and unique that you have a skill that can be recasted 3 times. Not only that, the cooldown of the skill is short, and it starts when you cast the first strike. So if you delay just a tiny bit between the casts of the other parts of the skill, the cooldown ends up being like 5 seconds. It's such a cheat. It generates so many pyro particles because you are hitting enemies 3 times with a pyro attack, and it is crazy. Of course, it's usually used as an auto attack reset. You attack, E, attack, E, attack, E, and that's how you do that's the general combo that you do with Diluc to maximize his DPS. The auto attack reset on the E is very good to skip animations and skip any sort of attack buffers. And Diluc is a Claymore DPS, so his attacks are slower than other characters like swords and polearms. So it is very nice to have this auto attack reset. But yeah, this skill is very good. Very good. Okay, and the cooldown, I consider it a bit of a cheat. And this, as I said, the multipliers aren't that great, but there's something else that makes Diluc so good, and we'll talk about it later, that enables him so much. Let's move on to his ult then. So his ult is this phoenix that he summons and he shoots in a direction. When you cast this skill, you will sort of do an explosion before firing the phoenix. That will deal a very good amount of damage, and then the phoenix will deal pyro damage as it carries enemies with it, and the amount of pyro hits the phoenix deals are a lot because it seems to proc every 0.1 seconds even. Like the ticks of pyro, again, as the phoenix is carrying enemies, they are a lot. Not only that, this phoenix specifically can actually carry most big enemies. Like as far as I know, its limit is Mythochurls, not Mythochurls, like lava churls as they call, those guys that infuse themselves with an element. So the cryo ones, the geo ones, the new electro that is coming out. Diluc is actually able to move them quite easily because the first explosion that happens before the phoenix is fired out actually breaks the resistance that they have to movement, so that's really good. Although ruin guards and ruin graders don't give a fuck. So yeah, it's really good. A lot of pyro damage from those Phoenix instances. It is enemy movement manipulation and an abyss-like environment. It is very good, of course, to group up enemies together. And Diluc is easily able to do that with the Phoenix. The Phoenix is really huge. And then it also infuses Diluc's weapon with pyro, so then your E and attack combo is constant pyro damage. So you E, you attack, that's both of those things are pyro damage, and that is really nice. And through the second Ascension talent, you gain extra infusion duration, and you also get extra pyro damage while you have the infusion up. So both your E and your auto attacks are dealing much more damage than they do without the infusion. There's a bit of a problem with Diluc is that his first Ascension talent is useless. The first Ascension talent decreases his charged attack stamina, and I think it increases the duration of the charged attack. The problem is Dilucs don't use it. You don't use the charge attack with Diluc, it's completely useless, so this talent is unfortunately absolutely useless. And it needs reworking. I'm sorry, but Diluc is unfortunately, he is caught by the early character syndrome, you can say, where, mihoyo was a bit more careful with how they wanted to, do characters and their skills. And, well, it really shows because, again, this Ascension talent is absolutely worthless. But the second one, very, very good. And so what can Diluc do with this build, with his kit? It's very easy. He's a main DPS, an absolute main DPS. I wouldn't even really say sub DPS. He's a main DPS, a main pyro DPS that easily fits in a vaporized comp with his best friend, Xingqiu. You can easily work with someone like Mona, of course, but Xingqiu just is such a great support that offers so many things. Damage reduction through the swords, healing through the swords, vaporize, everything. Xingqiu is just a god. And a god support for pyro DPSs, especially with Diluc, because you E, you hit, the swords hit. Most likely Diluc is the one to trigger vaporize because either the E or the hit will trigger the swords, and then the other one will vaporize off of them. It's the simple combo that everybody uses. He goes very well with Bennett because Bennett is just a really good attack buff support, and of course Diluc and Bennett get the pyro resonance when you have two characters of the same element. That's even more attack, and that's very good. He can even work as a melt character, although there aren't many options to support him. Like Kaeya can be his support through the ultimate, of course, so that Diluc can trigger melt off of the ult applying cryo. But the problem is that Kaeya doesn't offer the things that Xingqiu does. Again, the damage reduction, healing, Kaeya doesn't do anything of that. The resistance to interruption that Xingqiu can give you, even Kaeya can't give you that, but he still can work as a melt combo with Diluc. So artifact sets then. Well, there's only one. Yes, there's only one artifact set that was completely made for Diluc. It is the Crimson Witch of Flames. And yeah, it was completely, absolutely made for Diluc. Its effect, its 2-piece effect increases pyro damage bonus, and then the 4-piece effect increases your reaction damage, and then whenever you cast your elemental skill, you gain extra pyro damage. And it stacks up to 3 times. Well, guess who can activate his elemental skill 3 times back to back? Well, that is Diluc, of course, and yeah, Crimson Witch was made for him, and it is actually what enables Diluc to work, because through Crimson Witch, through the ultimate Ascension talent, you gain so much pyro damage bonus that even with the low multipliers that each strike of the E has, it deals a lot of damage, especially if it vaporizes. And yeah, that's the thing. With the 3 stacks on Crimson Witch, the 20% extra pyro damage from the infusion ultimate, it's just so much pyro damage that it works extremely well. And of course, you need to talent prioritization is also his hits. You need to keep his auto attacks, Diluc's auto attacks on a good level, because they matter when they are infused with pyro and you trigger vaporize of them. Don't ditch them. It usually is a balance of auto attacks and the E that deals the most damage, so those talents are your bigger priority compared to the ultimate. But but in a main DPS like Diluc, just have every talent leveled up as much as you can, and that's like the main thing with DPSs, and especially main DPSs. Just level up all the talents. You'll need them to maximize your DPS. There's nothing useless usually on a main DPS like Diluc. So then why don't we move on to weapons then? There's a pretty good selection, so why don't we start? Black Cliff Slasher, an extremely good option of course for Diluc. Good base attack, gives crit damage, helps you balance your crit damage and crit rate, and to mention, Diluc has a crit rate Ascension stat, so even easier to balance out crit rate and crit damage with, bad artifact rolls. So yeah, Black Cliff Slasher will help you even more balance out your crit damage and crit rate. Its effect is the whole kill enemies to gain extra attack stacks, and Diluc is gonna be out on the field. He's gonna be getting the kills through his damage. He's easily gonna stack the Black Cliff Slasher, an extremely good weapon for him. Favonius Greatsword, not for Diluc. The ultimate has a 40 energy cost, and with the 3 procs of pyro that the skill does, you easily generate the stacks back, especially since Diluc is your main DPS. He's killing enemies, so he's getting those orbs from the kill, so yeah, he's gonna have his ultimate almost always up. You do not need energy recharge. Lithic Blade isn't a bad option. Good base attack, it gives attack percent, which is fine. Again, with the Ascension stat that is crit rate, it is easy to balance your crit damage and crit rate. And, so with Lithic Blade having an attack percent is very much fine. If you get yourself characters from Liyue to add to the party that Diluc is in, you're very much there to gain the crit rate and attack buff that Lithic Blade gives. Xingqiu, of course, as we said, is the best combo with Diluc. He's from Liyue, so he's giving you a buff. Get a Zhongli perhaps in there, or get some other Liyue characters that can support Diluc or deal damage alongside Diluc, and you get yourself the Lithic Blade buff, and it's a very good option. Prototype Archaic is a weapon you can craft, so that's very nice. Really high base attack, 44, gives attack percent, and the effect with the whole crit is nice, but yeah, the base attack and the attack percent that it gives is very much useful on every DPS that is a Claymore user, and it really helps Diluc. Again, that crit rate Ascension stat really allows Diluc to use attack percent weapons with more ease than other characters. So yeah, Prototype Archaic, a very good option because of that very high base attack. Rain Slasher, Rain Slasher isn't really for Diluc, but I would like to see someone use it. It gives Elemental Mastery, and it increases your damage against opponents affected by Hydro. So you can sort of say, hey, my Vaporized damage is gonna be good, and since I'm attacking opponents affected by Xingqiu's Hydro Swords, hey, I'm dealing good damage. So it's not really for Diluc. The Prototype Archaic is better, but hey, if you wanna run it, you can run it, I guess. Serpent Spine, a very, very good option for Diluc. It isn't craftable, you need to purchase the battle pass, so it sort of loses behind the Black Cliff Slasher and the Prototype Archaic, which are more free to play, compared to Serpent Spine. But Serpent Spine is a very good Claymore. Okay base attack, gives crit rate, helps you balance your crit rate and crit damage, and then the effect is very good, but you need to be sure to not take damage, else the stacks of Serpent Spine you start to lose them. So unfortunately, unless you have someone like Zhongli or perhaps Diona to give Diluc a very good shield that would last and protect him, then Serpent Spine unfortunately is hard to use. Again, you need to be good at dodging perhaps, or just have the shield. And with Diluc really sticking to enemies, because he needs to be close, he needs to activate his skill and attack, it's very much possible that you will take damage and you will lose the Serpent Spine stacks. So again, a shielder is very much needed to take good use of Serpent Spine. So yeah, good weapon again, but needs a shielder. Bell, get this thing away, get this thing out of here. White Blind, not for Diluc. Sacrificial Greatsword, not for Diluc again, and the Snow-Toothed Star Silver is also not for Diluc. So it's nice that the Prototype Archaic is a very good free-to-play option, so that you don't need to, again, have luck with the gacha. And if you saved up a bit of Star Glitter, you can easily get the Black Cliff Slasher and increase your damage even more. So there's also the Inazuma Claymore that is coming out. While it has a nice effect that increases your elemental skill damage, it gives energy recharge, doesn't have the best base attack, so yeah, it's not gonna be as good as the Prototype Archaic. So it's a bit of a bummer, but hey. Let's move on to 5 stars then. The Skyward Pride, while it is nice, it has the best base attack out of all the weapons that can fit Diluc, because Song of the Broken Pines just isn't for Diluc at all. So Skyward Pride has 48 base attack, which is very nice, but it does give energy recharge, and again, Diluc doesn't need it at all, just at all. The effect is nice, increases your all of your damage by 8% on R1, and then when you use a burst normal charge attack, you get those vacuum blades, which are nice, but it's not the best. Again, the energy recharge is a very big downside to Skyward Pride that just doesn't fit Diluc, and the effect just doesn't really touch upon Prototype Archaic's damage or the Black Cliff Slasher. So yeah, next up, Wolf's Gravestone, the best one out of all the weapons to use. Good base attack, gives a lot of attack percent, and then all of the effect is more attack percent, and this allows Diluc to just go crazy on damage. He still has that crit rate Ascension stat to balance crit rate and crit damage, but here's the thing with characters in Genshin Impact and main DPSs. You still have your crit rate and crit damage to balance out and have a good ratio. But there's another ratio that matters, is your attack and crit damage. They are sort of opposites. If you have high damage but low crit damage, you'll deal, a good amount. But if you have low attack and very high crit damage, you'll still deal that same amount. So again, they're sort of opposites, where if one is high, the other one is low. It's the same as having the opposite of those things. And that's what Wolf's Gravestone allows you to do. The amount of attack Wolf's Gravestone gives you, it allows you to be more, to have lower crit damage, it allows you to have bad artifact rolls on crit damage. But still, of course, do have a nice amount of crit damage, of course. Try to get the best artifacts you can. But again, Wolf's Gravestone allows you to be a bit of an ease towards your crit damage numbers. And yeah, and the attack it gives. Oh man, all of the buffs that Wolf's Gravestone gives on your attack, you get to crazy numbers. And Wolf's Gravestone, alongside the Unforged, we'll talk about it in a bit, they allow you to have a lot of attack, around 2000 plus, and it is actually sort of recommended that if you have 2000 plus attack, you can switch to an Elemental Mastery Sands of Eon and use it. And yeah, it's a very good option, because again, Diluc is very good as a vaporized DPS. He can also be a pyro DPS if you want, but again, with Xingqiu, they pair up so greatly. And with Wolf's Gravestone, as we said, you gain a lot of attack that you can ditch the attack percent Sands of Eon and use an Elemental Mastery to increase the vaporized damage. It is a build that you can use. Then we get on to the Unforged that we mentioned. It is the same as Wolf's Gravestone. The same base attack, it gives the same attack percent, but you need a shielder. You need a shielder to work with the Unforged, and Zhongli is the main guy to really work with the Unforged. If you have Zhongli, if you have the Unforged, you can easily use it with Diluc. Don't switch to a Retracting Bolide set. You don't need it. Crimson Witch is exactly what you need. It enables Diluc with all of that pyro damage. So don't switch to Retracting Bolide even if you have Zhongli. So yeah, that is it. For weapons, the Unforged, again, good with Diluc. If you have Zhongli, Wolf's Gravestone, good in general, it's very busted. Skyward Pride, well, it's nice. It doesn't really match Prototype Archaic or Serpent Spine or the Black Cliff Slasher, and the Lithic Blade as well. Like it's good base attack, but energy recharge and the effect just don't stand up. And I mean that's it really. There's the Inazuma artifact set that I didn't mention, but again, the thing is that Crimson Witch is made for Diluc and it enables him, so there just isn't any other artifact set to use with Diluc. You're gonna have to go to that Crimson Witch domain, and you're gonna get disappointed because you're getting Lava Walker artifacts. You know, the Crimson Witch domain, I must say, seems to be the one most hated domain because it seems to be that one domain that doesn't want to give you good Crimson Witch artifacts. It always gives you Lava Walkers, you know, and that can be a bit of a, like, you know, RNG bias, confirmation bias, but, you know, I've seen so many freaking, like, you know, posts, and even my friend who has been farming Crimson Witch for 5 months straight and hasn't gotten an attack Sands of Eon yet. That is good, so, you know. But yeah, that is it for Diluc. A very good character still. A very good Pyro DPS, Vaporize DPS. Such a good combo with Xingqiu. And people have been going out there in forums and communities saying that Diluc isn't a good DPS anymore because Hu Tao is out and now DPS is him. And as we said in the Keqing and Xiao videos, what the heck does that mean? If Hu Tao deals more DPS than Diluc, if the upcoming Yoimiya deals more Pyro DPS than Diluc, that doesn't mean that Diluc still isn't dealing DPS. That doesn't mean that Diluc still can be a good Vaporize combination with Xingqiu and destroy enemies with his damage. Like, it doesn't make sense. Diluc didn't see, you know, the Hu Tao banner, he got scared and then he suddenly lost his damage. That doesn't happen. That's not the case. So Diluc is still a very sought out DPS, and to be honest, once you have one Pyro DPS, you don't really need any more. They're not necessarily all the same, but their gameplay doesn't really change that much. And with one Pyro DPS, you're good to go. And with Diluc being in the standard banner, or, you know, losing to the 50-50 to a Diluc, hey, you're getting easy constellations, and again, he's the easiest Pyro DPS to get, and is still a very, very good DPS. So then, that is it from me. Next up is the shield guy himself, the CEO of GEO, Zhongli, the Geo Archon. So I'll see you then.